Yeah, it's the sweet and salty popcorn. I like it. Yeah.
True.
All right.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, just come in if you have to.
Okay, we're recording.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. We're just a little bit late today. Technical difficulties. It happens at the best of times. Okay, approval of the agenda. I have a motion moved by Bill and seconded by Victor that the agenda for the regular council meeting held December 22nd, 2020 be approved as. Are there any amendments?
Yes, there is one amendment on the closed session. There is also an addition of personnel. It's one more. Yeah, it's the personnel.
Okay,
We'll just put down personnel. So it's on the resolution, Madam Mayor.
oh, okay,
Okay.
all right. Okay, so approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor, let me see your hands. Elwin? I guess Elwin can't talk, right?
Okay, I'm in, Fran.
Oh, there's Tom. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Motion's carried. All right. Next we have, is there any disclosure pecuniary interest in general nature thereof of any item on tonight's agenda by any member of council? Hearing none, I have one to declare, and that is on item 12. The report is 2/16/2020, the Zealand Cemetery. It's not a direct pecuniary interest, but I am actually the treasurer for that fund for that cemetery. So I will declare a conflict. Nikki, you'll take over at that point, and I'll just shut my video off. All right, we have approval of the minutes. Moved by Nikki and seconded by Elwin that the minutes of the regular council meeting held December the 8th, 2020 be approved as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Mayor's remarks. Just a few remarks about the year of 2020. And thank God it's almost over. I want to thank council for your patience throughout this whole year and the technology that we've been forced to use, and I think we're all doing really well. It's been the kind of a year that nobody could have really seen coming or known how to deal with it. And I think as a whole, we've dealt with it very well. And I think our staff are to be commended for their tenacity to stick with setting policies and changing policies and just dealing with the day-to-day of living and working in a pandemic. They've done an excellent job. A special shout out to the volunteers in our community who have been very creative in how they set up events through Zoom and through distancing. They tried to bring a little bit of cheer to folks' lives, even though they couldn't have crowds and they had to isolate and there are people who were bound and bent that something was still going to happen, and they made it happen. So kudos to them. We're so fortunate. To the people that delivered meals and continue to deliver meals to folks. Rural Frontenac Community Services, the service clubs that are active in our areas. We're so lucky to have so many people who care about each other. And I guess my message for all of us is over the holidays, if we each could reach out to one person that's alone and just give them a phone call, drop some goodies off at their door, some good old leftover turkey always goes a long way. Just be kind to each other and help us all get through this. The next 28 days are going to be tough ones for lots of folks. So I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and 2021 will be better. My prediction, it may not be at the first part of the year, but we will get there and back to some kind of what we knew to be normal, but I think it will be a different normal going forward. Deputy Warden Gowdy, would you have something that you wanted to say?
I was just going to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and everyone have good health, and as you said, 2021 can only get better.
Yes. Okay. Does anyone else have anything to add? There's probably
Thank you.
lots of. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to say a thank you to Gary Giller. He sent out a submission to all the councillors with regards to the Charlotte Lake Via Station Committee submission. I'm sure everybody got a copy. I think it's very well done. And I just want to congratulate him on his interest in the community and especially all the hard work they're doing on that railway committee. So thank you to Gary and his group. Everybody, I'm sure, got a copy. If you haven't, you should read it. Thank you, Your Worship.
Not that we all necessarily agree with it, Tom. Anyhow.
No, but I thought he did it. It was very well done, I thought.
Yeah, well, there was more than Gary for sure that worked on it. Okay, anything else from
No.
anyone? All right, then let's move on. Are there any deferred items?
None.
None. Okay, we're at staff reports, and our first one is Development Services, Part 8 Septic Report. I have a motion that's not a short one that I'm going to read, so patience. Moved by Sherry and seconded by Tom. Whereas Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington Public Health provided notification of their intent to terminate their agreement with area municipalities to carry out their responsibilities for sewage systems under the Ontario Building Code and associated regulations effective January 1, 2021. And whereas Council passed Resolution 371 on October the 27th, 2020, approving in principle of a regional approach for Part 8 on-site sewage systems with the other Frontenac townships, with South Frontenac Township being the service provider, subject to South, North, and Frontenac Islands Council all agreeing to this proposal. And whereas staff of our 4 townships worked with the township solicitor to develop the attached agreement, which has been approved by the other 3 townships. And whereas the CAO clerk is recommending that Central Frontenac also enter into the agreement with South Frontenac for the delivery of services under Part 8 on-site sewage systems of the Ontario Building Code on behalf of Central Frontenac, North Frontenac, and Frontenac Islands. Now therefore be it resolved that Council approve the recommendation of the CAO clerk and authorize the execution of the agreement, which will be effective January 1, 2021. Discussion. Bill.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I just have a question. If an actual truth, the Ontario Building Code restricts the full delegation of authority under Part 8 to upper tier or the public health units or conservation authorities, how can South Frontenac act as a service provider under that, under the terms of those agreements? Can someone answer those?
It's in regards to, because we're doing it under a service agreement, Bill. The building code allows, yes, that we could do the health and all that, but that's why, and this is what the lawyer said, this is the only way that we are entering into an agreement with them, like a contract. So we're not giving up our authority at all.
But through you, Madam Mayor, follow up, if you have to be one of those delegated authorities, how can they actually provide the service? That's really what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, under the Ontario Building Code, and currently what the lawyer says, and I don't have all that stuff right in front of me here, does require that you do it through this kind of an agreement. Let's see what I can say.
But Bill, is your question, who is the delegated authority?
Yes.
Because we
It's
are,
the municipality. We are the authority.
yes.
And this agreement is our agreement to provide Part 8 services.
I have no problem with the agreement. I'm just concerned that if the province of Ontario is saying that the Ontario Building Code does restrict full delegation to the upper tier or to the public health units or the conservation authorities, how, and I assume that the staff will check this out with legal beagles, is that how can South Frontenac be that authority and be a representative of Central Frontenac or North Frontenac? That's the question I have.
Okay, and Madam Mayor is correct, is the sense we are not giving up our delegation as the municipality. So the chief building official is still responsible. What we're doing is we're only asking them
Okay.
through the agreement as to administer Part 8 under that code on our behalf.
Okay. All right, I understand that we're doing it through the Ontario Building Code, and our building official is actually representing the authority then.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. I have no further questions, Madam Mayor.
Brent,
Might seem like a rhetorical question, but we're confident that if we go along with this plan, that the resources are there, and you know, regardless of does South Frontenac have the resources to do this in concert with us? I guess that's my quick question.
Yes, it is. I'm just to let you know, and I'll count because I didn't put that also into the report. They have 4 already qualified inspectors for Part 8, plus also the number 5th one will be this specialist that's going to be looking after just our 3 townships, North and Central, as well as the islands. So if there gets to be, you know, that the inspector that's looking after, say, for instance, Frontenac Islands and is stuck there for a day, they have 4 other inspectors that will pick up and come and do the, you know, do the inspection. So there is lots of coverage. And I also wanted to let council know, in speaking with South Frontenac and certainly with Neil, we want this to work, and there will be every effort made. If there is a hiccup or if there's problems, we will deal with it right away. So that's, you know, we're ready to move forward on this, and we're the last municipality to approve and move forward with it. And like I said, it's a year for us to try, and then we'll know from there as to numbers and exactly how things are going to work down the road.
okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, still on development services. Moved by Brent and seconded by Cindy that council receive for information the Chief Administrative Officer Clerk Administrative Report entitled Establishment of Fee Schedules for Part 8 of the Ontario Building Code, Sewage Septic Systems, and the proposed changes to building permit fees. And that council approves in principle the proposed fees for on-site sewage systems as established by South Frontenac Township as our service provider effective January 1st, 2021. And that council approved the proposed changes to Schedule C of bylaw 2014-27 to increase the building permit fees. And that as per the Ontario Building Code Act, council instructs the CAO clerk to provide notice of a public meeting on January 26, 2021, and the intent to pass a bylaw to amend the fees and charges bylaw at the regular council meeting on January 26, following the public meeting. Discussion. So this change will bring all the fees in line with the other municipalities, Kathy?
Yes, it will in regards to Part 8. And Andy's thought at the same time, and he's increasing the building permit fees as well and do it all at one time, because you have to allow 21 days prior to us ever passing the new fees. So that's why we're doing that in January, for January meeting.
Okay, Tom, you had your hand up?
That was what I was going to ask you. Were our fees comparable to the other municipalities of similar size? So you've answered that. Thank you.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Hearing no more questions or comments, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, fire and emergency services. I have a motion moved by Sherry and seconded by Bill that council receive for information the CFFR activity report as prepared by the acting manager of emergency services fire chief. Discussion. Bill, go ahead.
Yes, I don't know, is Jamie with us at this meeting?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Going through the pie charts and that sort of thing, which I thought was really quite informative through you, Madam Mayor, to Jamie. But I have a question regarding what is hazards, because when I'm looking at the pie charts, The hazards are listed on station 2 and 4, Mount Grove and Hinchinbrook, according to the color. I'm a little colorblind. Forgive me if I am wrong here, but there's none of those listed in the other 2 stations. There are fire. I was a little confused with the pie charts. Maybe Jamie would like to speak to that through you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor McDonald. Yes, the public hazards are calls hydro wires across roads or hydro wires down. I put the new reports with the pie charts in the package. We just converted from Firehouse to Crisis this month, and this is November was our first 2.5 weeks with the new RMS software. So we're still learning some things. We're putting some final touches on the reports, and getting the calls so that when the calls do come in and we finalize them, hopefully as we move forward, you'll see less fire other and more in the descriptive as far as fires, medical, what type of medical they are, not just medical others. So, and public hazard as well.
Yep.
So it'll be a lot more specific.
Yes.
Through you, Madam Mayor, if I may just follow up, it's not a question, but a comment. I really read over the material and it was really quite well done and quite informative. So I thank you for providing that to us. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So this is the kind of information that you input to the system, and depending on the type of system you have, how much better the reports are.
Yeah, so the information, Madam Mayor, transfers from the CAD system from dispatch. So once the call is completed with Kingston Dispatch, it transfers over to our RMS system. And then all we have to do is we go in and we code it for the OFM, add our additional information as far as the firefighters that responded, verify the vehicles that responded, and make sure that it's properly coded, and then saved. And then that information gets transmitted at the end of the year to the OFM for our OFM reports.
Good. So much better system.
Yes, touch wood, we're still in 2020. I love this program, and I know Donna's on the phone with Crisis every day as she's entering in stuff and learning through the nooks and crannies of the program, and things have been going really, really well. For instance, the end of year reports for the firefighter payouts, Firehouse decided to crash on us, and we had to go back the day before payouts were due to manually enter in all the calls from May 1st through to November 30th. And with the help of Mel and the IT and Donna, we got all the calls transferred over, and the payouts completed in less than 24 hours. So it went really, really well. And there was only one error, and that was an error on my part. And I forgot to add in the one training course that they did in May for the 6 firefighters, but we got that corrected. So
Excellent.
yes.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, Jamie.
If I may, it's kind of a last minute add in to the activity report. Just maybe I'll give council a quick update on the control group meeting that we had this morning.
Yes, please do.
Okay, thank you. This morning, the Community Emergency Management Control Group did meet in response to the province-wide shutdown that was announced earlier this week. The control group discussed what's involved with the lockdown, and we presented a recommendation to the control group that we close the municipal office to the public starting January 4th until the completion of the lockdown. Staff will still report to work, will be available through telephone and email to answer questions, as well as be here to receive any packages that might come through the drop box that are time sensitive. We're looking at a process that we can process garbage bag pickups at like curbside type pickups. So they drop the money into the box and we'll set the garbage bags out on the step. But the garbage bags will also be available through all the waste sites. Just the safety policies that will be in place when the staff return from Christmas break. So it may involve relocating a couple of people to another area so that we have the distances, and just the addition of additional PPE while they're away from their work desks and moving around the office. The control group supported that recommendation. We are working, Kathy and I are working on a press release this afternoon, and we're just verifying along with Frontenac and North Frontenac and Frontenac Islands, just to make sure that we're all consistent with our messaging as we go forward with our press release, and making sure that the information flow is, like I said, consistent, so that there's no gray areas and no confusion amongst the Frontenacs. We've all been doing a really good job at communicating through this, and we just want to make sure that we keep the information flow going. We also want to, get the message out as well. Continue to shop local, support our local businesses, because they're the ones that are going to be taking the hit in the next month. So as much as we can would, promote shopping local. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Does council have any question or concerns about closing the office for the next 28 days? Brent? Go ahead.
Not a concern, just a quick question, Jamie. Both in terms of the fire department and the township as a whole, how's our PPE holding out?
Our PPE supplies are holding out really well. I just received some more masks and some more face shields yesterday. On the fire side, we're looking at a new adapter that goes on our SCBA masks, and the filters that are on it are N95 filters. So we can put this on, put our face mask on, and that basically eliminates having the little mask on, the goggles, the face shields, and so. But we're doing good, and our supplies are. We've got a couple of really good suppliers, so our supplies are holding out.
Actually in better shape than we were the first time around.
Much better shape. Much better shape.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Jamie. We'll thank you for your direction and guidance in the control group too. It's excellent.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to get down to finances here. And I have a motion moved by Tom and seconded by Cindy that council approve the check distribution reports totaling $1,177,650.80 as prepared by the treasurer. Any discussion? All those in favor of paying the bills? Motion's carried. Okay, next moved by Elwin and seconded by Victor that council approve the following apportionments of assessment as recommended by impact for 2020 and 2021 as applicable for the following roll numbers. And there's a whole list of roll numbers there that was in your packages. Any questions or comments on any of those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Elwin, I'm just assuming that if you don't agree, you will tell Nikki to vote no for you. Okay? All right. Next, we have a motion moved by Brent and seconded by Nikki that council approve the following reduction of assessments pursuant to the Municipal Act. Roll number 1039, 1010, 02700, Riccati Rita Ina for the period of August 22nd, 2019 to December 31st, 2020 is reported by impact. Reason, raised by fire, demolition or otherwise, 357 1DI. Roll number 1039, 1010, 050, 500, Southam David William, for the period of September 30th to December 31st, 2020, as reported by impact, reason, raised by fire, demolition, or otherwise. 357 1DI. Roll number 1039 070 1040,000. McKay, Janet K, for the period of October 21 to December 31, 2020, is reported by impact, reason, raised by fire, demolition, or otherwise. 357 1DI. Is that I? It is I. Okay, roll number 1039 2010 27,000, McCallum Donald Heath for the period of January 1, 2017 to December 31st, 2020, as reported by impact, reason, gross or manifest clerical factual error. 357 1F. And further, that council approve an adjustment of taxes to be calculated by the tax department for the related period. Discussion? I just have a question on that last one, the gross manifest error for 3 years. It was assessed and it shouldn't have been assessed, Michael? You're on mute. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Okay, because I'm listening through the phone because I'm getting no audio from the meeting, so that's why I was talking into the phone, but you couldn't hear me, sorry. So the problem did start with impact. They had acreage on there that shouldn't have been, and the problem started in 2017. Normally we go the current year and 2 years behind, but this paperwork had actually started in the correct time frame, but didn't end up getting processed. So that's why we're actually asking for the 4 years total.
Okay, so there was acreage that there really wasn't.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the manifest error, gross error.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Still with Treasury, moved by Cindy and seconded by Tom, that council approve the CAO clerk and the treasurer to sign the renewal for the providing of insurance services with Aon for the year of 2021, more specifically for the period January 1 to December 31st, 2021, at a cost of $185,964. Discussion? Tom and then Bill?
Thank you, Your Worship. Michael, quick question. In your report, the insurer is suggesting that he's suggesting the $40 million would be adequate, but I see that the rest that you or the other members in the municipality have decided that maybe we want to go up to the 50 million. I'm just wondering what you're thinking on that line, or why do you think we should go to 50 million? Because that would be another 10,000 for us, right? 8 to 10.
Yeah, so through your worship to Councillor Dewey, it is the 50 million is what they felt we should have before. He said that, I think I had it in there, that he's seen cases up to 25 million, but I'm overly cautious at a cost of, it actually came in at $5,500 plus PST, so that 5,800 I'm going to say. It just covers us that much more. We're the deep pockets, quote unquote, that people feel they can hit, and I'm worried about somebody doing a lawsuit that's going to take us to the bank. And so it's just extra coverage. It feels right to be at where they felt we should be at before. We could take a chance. We could save $5,500, but I'm very cautious.
Now, one more follow-up question on that?
Go ahead, Tom.
Because this is a policy with the other four lower tier municipalities plus the county, correct?
No, so this is just Central Frontenac's policy. We did go out as a joint, our joint RFP back in 2017, and then we're intending on going out again later to get a better price, but the contract had the ability for us to go all with the same provider and maybe get an extra discount, or each of us go with different providers. And last time we went with a different provider because we were saving $170,000 at the time. We would be saving 170 plus whatever increases the previous company would have been doing, which I think we're probably saving over 200,000 at this point.
Okay, good. Okay.
Okay, Bill, you had your hand up as well.
Yes, I did. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Michael. Michael, by going to a higher rate or a higher ceiling, will that change the deductible on any of these programs? And the second part to that, in regard to the deductibles, are they flexible in regard to what the claim is?
Through your worship, Councillor McDonald, sorry. All the deductibles are different. I don't believe it will increase the deductible because I was certainly under the impression that we were just getting our coverage more, but I'll double check with the insurance company and let you know.
But through you, Madam Mayor, my question being is that if you went to 50 million, would that affect the deductible in a downward way? We pay less deductible.
I don't believe so, through your worship, to Councillor McDonald.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
You're
All
welcome.
right, we've got one more here, and that's moved by Bill and seconded by Elwin, that council approve transferring to reserves the unused portion of the 2020 budgeted projects listed on the attachment as of December 31st, 2020, which are to be completed in 2021. Discussion.
And if I may just add, some of these projects will be completed, but I'm not counting my chickens before they're hatched. So in case they're not, then I have your authority or your blessing.
Yes. Yeah. So if they're completed, that money just doesn't get transferred, right?
Correct. And then it won't come into the 2021 budget.
So it's actually up to that maximum number that's on the list.
Yes, because that's what we budgeted.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? All
So in
those
case
in
I'm not
favor?
on again, wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and safe. And like the mayor said, thank you for all your hard work. It's been a fun year. It'll be fun next year too.
Michael,
Thanks,
don't
Mike.
forget, stay on for the next one because it's the municipal modernization
Yeah,
fund
it's your
report.
Oh, right, there is one more. Oh,
There is one more.
I moved on.
I didn't see any hands up for this motion, so I need to do it again. Okay, motion's carried. You're getting a little tired there with those hands. Okay. Moved by Brent and seconded by Victor. The council accept this report on the Municipal Modernization Fund Grant Program as prepared by the treasurer for information purposes. Discussion, questions, comments? Bill?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, to Michael. Did PSD provide us or give us any estimate of the cost of putting in place all of the recommendations? And the second part about that, will that LIDAR program that we're looking into, is that going to have any positive effect in regard to where we're at in the township, especially the Public Works Department?
So through your worship, Councillor McDonald, I'll hit the second one first, and that I won't really know how to comment on the LIDAR system. I know it's supposed to help us, but I don't feel knowledgeable enough to answer that question. The first question is, they didn't give us a cost on implementing them. Some I could have probably put a cost to. Ultimately, the cost that we need to put the money in, there should be a second phase of this project, which I think would hopefully pay for some, if not all, of the implementation costs. And some of the recommendations that they have, we can't even do yet, whether we don't have the staff or we don't have the software.
Right.
So no, I don't have a cost, and I actually don't have a savings either, but there would be a lot of efficiencies achieved. Even just data transferring over would be a huge one.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Okay, motion's carried.
Thank you. Now I'll say goodbye. Sort of.
Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas.
Michael.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
Michael.
Merry Christmas.
Now, I'm going to step out of the meeting and Nikki's going to take over. And Kathy, would you read this motion for Nikki? She probably doesn't have it right in front of her.
I certainly will. Now, who did you have for, who? I guess we can just put whoever else to move and second it then.
Yeah.
All right, so moved by Sherry. And moved by Cindy. Okay, that council receive for information the cemetery update and bylaw amendment 2020-08 report, including the new rates for 2021 as outlined in Schedule B of the bylaw and adjusted per the October Consumer Price Index. And further, that bylaw 2020-08 be amended to add St. Paul's Zealand Anglican Church, Part Lot 20, Concession 6, formerly OSO, to Schedule A of said bylaw, once the provisions of Section 2C have been met. I'll let you take over from there.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, everybody in favor? Motion carried. And Fran takes the chair back.
Perfect.
Thanks, Nikki. Okay. Moving on, accessibility report. Moved by Sherry and seconded by Cindy. The council received the Accessibility Advisory Committee report for information. And further, that Central Frontenac support Frontenac County's motion passed November the 18th, 2020, recommending an extension to AODA website compliance and requests for funding support and training resources. And that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, MPP Randy Hillier, Lanark Frontenac Kingston, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, and all Ontario municipalities. Discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Moved by Elwin and seconded by Brent. The council received the report entitled 2020 Municipal Licensing and Law Enforcement Forum, prepared by the Deputy Clerk for information, and the council considered the allocation of resources / funding in the 2021 budget to explore moving towards the establishment of an administrative monetary penalty system of bylaw enforcement and direct staff to investigate further. Discussion. This certainly sounds like a much simpler system to me. Victor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just a little unclear on how this is going to work. Are we setting up our own sort of tribunal so that any bylaw infractions are handled in-house? Is that how this works? So if I could just get sort of like a little bit more of a detailed summary of how this is supposed to work.
Cindy, can you answer that?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I believe that's essentially the situation. And I think some larger municipalities have more established, larger kind of quasi-judicial systems set up. After listening to the speaker from Hastings Highland, I think they basically have someone who is a retired lawyer who kind of sits as the hearing officer. The screening officer, I think, would be the main source of contact, and a lot of things could get resolved at that level, and then the hearing officer goes to the next level. So whether we establish that just with our township or whether we collaborate with the other townships to have one system that we can all access, I think those are all options we can explore. I know some of our bylaws that we're drafting right now, like the noise bylaw, the burn bylaw, and those types of ones, we are working in wording in those policies or in those bylaws for allowing AMPs to be part of our enforcement process, but there is a standalone bylaw that we can also implement that is across the board. So all things that we can look at if we move forward.
So staff will bring forward that report with more of the details that we can then have to make the decision. My understanding is it's a much more inexpensive and efficient way than hiring lawyers and going into court and paying all kinds of money and having a judgment of $200 come back, which is often why we don't take a lot of these bylaw enforcement infractions to court. It's costs us more money than it's worth.
Yeah, and I think I think that's a very fair comment. The only thing that scares me a little bit is at the beginning. I think there can be more costs, especially up front as we establish, because we're doing more in-house as opposed to allowing the courts to deal with it. So, but I think in the end, if we are working or looking at enforcing more of our bylaws, which I think in my short experience here is going to become a necessity, I think it would be a good system because the court systems are way far behind. It's increasingly more difficult to get any resolution out of there, and it will, from what I can gather, the users, the people who are charged under this system find it an easier way to maneuver through the system as well. So it does scare me a little bit about moving it in-house out of the court system, but I think once that's set up, it will save us all a lot of pain and grief and in the long run money. I don't think we'll ever recover all of our costs from the fines established, and I don't think that's not obviously the intention of the program, but you know, it'll be interesting to see as more smaller municipalities use these systems, whether the fines generally come close to covering costs. It's hard to say.
And it gives us compliance. Bill, did you have a comment?
Yes, I do, through you, Madam Mayor, and back to Cindy. I actually look favorably on this kind of a system, but I'm wondering, Hastings Highland is a very rural area, similar to us, with few small communities in there. But I'm wondering how long they've been doing it and what has been their track record. I'd be interested to see what the follow-up report will give us. Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, I think if there is direction that we want to proceed this way, that would be my first thing to do, is to do some more research with Hastings Highlands. Everyone's kind of new to this. Even the big cities haven't even implemented it to a complete full version of it yet, because it's a relatively new concept. But I think within a year there will be a bit of a track record from everybody, and we'll have some data and some information. So I'll certainly reach out to Hastings Highlands as soon as I can and get what they can share with me.
So stay tuned, it will be in the report.
Good.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. I have a motion moved by Tom and seconded by Victor. The council received the 2021 council and committee schedule information. Any discussion on that schedule? Those schedules? Bill, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to point out that
Go ahead, Bill.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you?
I can hear you, but I'm taking my video off right now.
Right. Well, there is no committee of
It's that
adjustment.
time of the day. Everything's
Yeah.
unstable.
There's no committee of adjustment meeting in January. I just wanted, that's on the list, but there will not be any committee of adjustment meeting in January. Did you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think there was one.
Okay. Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear. I can hear you.
Okay. Can I see your hands? Okay, motion's carried. You just think I can't see your hands, right? Since you can't see me. Okay, we have a motion moved by Bill and seconded by Nikki. Whereas council received report 174/2020 at its October 27, 2020 meeting and deferred the proposed motion until December the 8th council meeting. And whereas the Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance has submitted a draft memorandum of understanding between it and the Verona ATV Club to facilitate the use of the trail from Tay Valley Township border to Charlotte Lake Village by the Verona ATV Club. And whereas the Verona ATV Club is in the process of reviewing the agreement, additions made to protect the township as the property owner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council directs staff to work with EOTA and the Verona ATV Club to finalize an agreement unless a one-pass system is established prior to the start of the 2021 trail season, and report back to council with further options if an agreement cannot be reached. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor?
No,
Oh,
sorry,
Tom,
Your
did you
Worship,
want to say
Tom.
something?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
The only comment I have to make on this is arrangement is being made with a club and not with OFATV. And I really think it should be OFATV because they are a member of the OFATV. And I really think it has to be the overall corporation, OFATV, that we make the arrangement with, not just the club.
Cindy, will they be a signature to this as well? We
Madam Mayor,
met
that
with
is-
the, go ahead.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, I do believe that those were some of the concerns and comments that I had raised in the draft agreement as well, because a lot of the wording and verbiage didn't make sense to be applied to just the Verona Club. So I
Right.
do think that this agreement was provided by the EOTA to us, which we then forwarded on to the Verona Club. So that is something that I think we have to clean up the wording on, because I also thought the same thing, Councillor Dewey, and I think we have to define the overarching club and the local club in that agreement, as well as include the township as a consenting party to it as well.
Yeah.
So
Is
that will be part of what staff will bring back.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, because that agreement was made with is part of the Hastings County agreement that they had with OFATV. And by the way, they still haven't signed it yet, but that is the same agreement. So I think it should be with OFATV. And so I'll leave it, wait to hear back from Cindy on that.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
Hello.
Madam Mayor, could, who moved and seconded, please?
Sorry, that was moved by Bill and seconded by Nikki.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion moved by Brent and seconded by Cindy that council receive the report and presentation from the manager of planning and economic development at the County of Frontenac, and further that council directs staff to proceed with the public meeting required under the Planning Act to be held in February 2020. And Joe Gallivan is with us. I have to let a dog in. So Joe, do you want to make some comments?
Thank you, Worship, members of council. Just a few brief comments. I worked and had discussions with Kathy on the draft official plan, and we both agreed that it was better to get the plan in front of you now rather than to have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So you have in front of you tonight our staff report, which outlines the changes that have been made to the plan and the fact that you've had 5 public open houses. Also, you have the correspondence, very detailed correspondence from the Algonquins of Ontario from this June, as well as the revised draft official plan. And I have highlighted in yellow all the changes that have been made, both additions and deletions. What is not included in tonight's agenda is the map, the land use schedule, which will be finalized by January. I'm still working with our GIS department on that. So the reason it's in front of you tonight is for you, I should advise council that is one of the things that we did as part of this third draft is that we looked at the new provincial policy statement, which came in on May the 1st, and went through the entire plan to make sure that it conforms to the new PPS. And it, in my opinion, it does. So you have a plan in front of you that conforms to the new PPS as well as the county official plan. Any other changes would be subject to that, but it will conform to those documents. So your decision tonight is whether you want to hold another open house to go through this again, or whether you want to proceed to a public meeting. If you are going to schedule a public meeting in February, we will have the map ready in January. It'll be online, available for the public, so that won't be an issue for you. And I'll stop at this time, Your Worship.
So I guess the question is 5 open houses enough? And we'll go to a public meeting at this point and get it passed? What's council's pleasure? Bill?
Yes, having been through this program a lot over the last 30 years, I really and truly like the idea about the updates only having to happen every 10 years rather than every 5 years in the past, because it's really quite an onerous process to go through. But I have one small question. Agricultural use in settlement areas, Joe, was there any consideration of having any wordage in there in regard to marijuana grow ups or any into that, or are we leaving that sort of blank?
Well, thank you, thank you, Councillor McDonald. That's a good question. And again, depending on the bylaw, so to back up for other councillors who may have not gone through that in detail, we had through the open houses a number of citizens who live in your settlement areas that said, we would like to raise backyard hens. We would like to have small agricultural operations in our backyard. Right now it's prohibited, absolutely prohibited. Can we do something? And so if you remember in our discussions, council said, let's look into that. So there is a policy in there that would trigger the Municipal Act to say that you can pass a bylaw under the Municipal Act to allow for those uses. I think that we could consider grow ops potentially, but the scale would be the most important consideration. I know that we've had inquiries in a number of settlement areas in Central Frontenac for greenhouses to operate that would house cannabis. We haven't figured out how to deal with that yet, but that's something we can look at. Thank you.
Okay.
It's definitely something we're going to face at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Although I've heard that the sales are down so much that they're closing stores. So maybe the big attraction to it, it's not as big as they thought it was. Everybody's growing their 4 plants.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Madam Mayor, can I mention to Joe in regards with the official plan, and I know you and I had spoke about this there today. Joe, on page 58 of the third draft, where you're talking about the high frequency rail project, the last bullet point where you're talking about working with the Via Rail on any proposed train stop and train station that will be in the Charlotte Lake area, and consider any municipal infrastructure improvements to allow connection from the village to the train stop. I know this is going to be up to council and certainly council's decision, but my thoughts are we should probably just end the sentence really at Charlotte Lake, because I think everybody's looking to have the train stop here within the village. This opens it up for the other group that I was looking at wanting to maybe have it out at Highway 7 and coming in. And I think that's what I think all the discussion was, is to look at having it within the village area, if I'm not mistaken.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So just so you're clear, the policies that are in this draft plan for the Via Rail proposal are exactly the same as they have been in the second draft. There's been no changes. And certainly when you have your public meeting, you can there may be some consideration to the public about what they want. But it hasn't, just so you're clear, it hasn't changed since the second draft.
Okay. And I think I realized that too, Joe, but I think that there's been lots of discussions, since the second draft of this group that's meeting. So just so that, but I leave that to council.
Okay, Brent.
Just a thought on that, and I appreciate the logic behind that. I think that we've been quite clear that we've not made and bearing in mind the presentation that was made by the group. I would like to just, my own thought is Via Rail, as an agency of the federal government, as a crown corporation, it's going to do what it's going to do. And I think while we don't want to necessarily advocate for one particular proposal that's been put to us, we don't know what Via is going to do. They could decide to take one route over another, and we're going to be more in a reactive phase. So I appreciate the logic, and I'm not certainly advocating for one route over another, but I think we have to be logical with the fact that if the federal government and the Ministry of Transportation and Via Rail decide that they're going to go a particular route, we have to be responsive and reactive to that, because I think above all, we want a train station in Central Frontenac. We want a train station in, you know, whether it's in one particular part of Sharp Lake or another, it has to be in proximity to the rail bed, and where the rail bed is, that's going to be something driven by Ottawa, not by us. So I do appreciate a level of flexibility at this point in time, because we don't know what we don't know, and we need to be able to react to anything that comes down the proverbial rail line.
That's true, Brent. And I think on that point, if you look at the picture that's in there, it shows a station in Charlotte Lake. And I think VIA is looking at the line that's in existence. So I think if the official plan leaves it, that they will talk to us when they decide where they're putting it, then I think the official plan covers it. I think it's loose enough to allow it to go wherever they decide to go. But I think in general, they have told us it would be in the village. Okay, any other comments on the official plan? Since we just got it, okay, Victor, just one sec. Since we just got the official plan, I think if we have comments, Joe, we should send them directly to you with any of the changes. Is that right?
Mayor, my recommendation is that you wait until you hold the public meeting. That's an important consideration. So I say this to other councils. This is not, yes, I've written the plan, but it's not my plan. It's your plan, and it's the community's plan. And so I would suggest that you wait until after the public meeting. If you've heard from the public, if you have any additional comments that you can provide to Kathy or I, we can look at those as well. So just to give council an idea, can I say this, Mayor, just give you a process?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so if there's a public meeting in February, you will receive likely more comments from the public. And at that time, we'll prepare another staff report for you with all of the comments you've heard, any suggested changes to the plan. And I would suggest that likely in April, you'll have a final version that you are prepared to say we're good to go.
Yes.
And that's the adoption of the plan. That's the formal term under the Planning Act. And once council adopts it, it goes to Frontenac County Council for approval. And that is a big change, because this is the first time that an official plan for Central Frontenac will be approved by County Council and the 8 members of council rather than the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. And the timeline will be significantly shorter. I estimate it to be 3 months at the most. So you're looking at potential adoption in April and County Council approval in June or July. And once County Council approves the plan, there is, again, under the Planning Act, there will be a 20-day appeal period, but you will have a new plan in place by the fall of next year at the latest. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, good. Victor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As other members of council appreciate, if you've read the document put out by the citizens group, I'm a citizen member of that group and was a participant in these discussions. I would say one of the concerns that the group has had is that there has not been public discussion about this issue. And there is an issue. There are definitely different points of view, different opinions. But these have not been fleshed out in a public discussion. So my recommendation on this is that we have at least one more open house where this can be publicly discussed before we come up with our final draft. Thank you.
So you mean to discuss the official plan, not the railway proposal?
Well, I would love to see a discussion of the railway proposal. I would love to see I understand that.
It is not specifically a part of our official plan. Is that right, Joe?
through you, your mayor, it's a policy in the plan. So you have this policy right now that supports Via Rail having coming to Charlotte Lake. Location to be determined, but you're supporting it, and that's an important consideration. That
Yes.
you're making a clear statement that your community supports the new Via high frequency rail system coming to Charlotte Lake. It stops there. The question, I would also defer to Kathy as well. So the question is, do you want to have another open house on the entire official plan? Because it has to be about the entire official plan, not just the specific policy. Or do you have a more formal public meeting? And the public meeting is just that. It's not, it's more formal. People talk directly to council. They provide their comments either in writing or orally. And it's at that time where council will hear those comments and then defer for that meeting and then move forward to the next council meeting. So it's a question of, do you want to have another informal discussion about the entire plan? It can't be just about the Charlotte Lake, pardon me, the Via Rail high frequency rail proposal. It has to be about the entire plan or a more formal public meeting. People can discuss it in both venues. One is more informal than the other. Thank you.
And as we said in the beginning, we've had 5 open houses. We've been at this for 2 years. We need to get this official plan done. The motion before us is to have a public meeting under the Planning Act and not an open house. And as Joe said, even with the public meeting in February, we're still talking April for an approval after we've heard the public. And then we're talking another 2 to 3 months after that for county council. So we're talking the fall of 2021 to get the official plan done. So it'll be 3 solid years in the making.
That's right. And Madam Mayor, Joe is correct in the sense that if there's discussion of that group, they can certainly address it at the public meeting.
Okay, so the motion before us is to have a public meeting in February. Any further discussion? I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Joe.
Sorry, Your Worship, I just wanted, and I did note it in the staff report, our staff recommendation, and we can deal with that later, but it is that you have a special council meeting.
Yes.
It's not part of a normal public meeting. You have a special council meeting, which will allow as much time as possible for the public to comment at that public meeting.
Okay.
Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's correct, Joe, because it does take quite a bit of time for dealing with an official plan.
All right. And I also want to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas. It's been a pleasure. And we're down a staff person right now, but hopefully we'll be able to hang in there for another month or so.
You haven't hired yet.
I already miss Megan, but
Yeah.
Okay, Merry Christmas, Joe.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, Joe.
Thank you. Okay. We have a motion moved by Tom and seconded by Cindy. The council received the Kennebec Lake Association winter newsletter for information. Discussion, good newsletter, by the way.
Yep.
All those in favor? Can I see the hands? Motion's carried. Okay, motion moved by Bill, seconded by Elwin. Elwin, you're still with us, eh? Nikki Elwin's still there? Good, okay. That council received the following correspondence for information and that council received, twice. Council received the following correspondence for information. And it's 1 to 18. I'll just strike one of those out.
Yes. Yeah.
Any discussion? Yes. All those in favor? Motion's carried.
Madam Mayor, Bill wanted to say something.
Yes.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
That's right.
I was watching the hands slowly come up.
I just
What did you
wanted
want
to
to say, Bill?
Yes, if you read through all of that correspondence, it's really quite evident that the provincial government's getting a tremendous blowback in regard to Bill 229, in regard to the conservation and the changes that they're proposing. So it might be a train coming at us, but I think there might be some light at the end of the tunnel because some of the changes have already happened as a result of our lobbying. So hopefully there'll be more.
Madam Mayor, I just want to mention for Councillor Hayes in regards to your question to me about the White Duck Provincial Park. This is updated information because in the beginning, it was not proposed to be in Central Frontenac, but now it is. So what this information is for, if council wish to make any kind of comments, we've got a certain date to certainly correspond, but they are now into Central Frontenac.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. I had done a little research online myself, and I found they have the Algonquins have requested a certain piece of the Big Gull Lake shoreline to be a part of the White Duck Provincial Park. So, and this question came up from a cottagers association on Big Gull Lake. They're concerned about increased traffic on their lake, and another concern is that their property values are going to be decreased because of the increased traffic. So I did my research. I found out, yes, it's going to be in Central Frontenac as well. But
and I think
thank you for that.
The thing is the thing was the letter, we got it later because they thought I should have received all this information in October and I didn't receive it for council when we got the other information. So that's why they've extended the deadline for comments because we did not receive it when we should have. So.
Okay,
And
thank you.
in actual fact, people may find there's less traffic than more once it becomes a provincial park or an Algonquin park.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, Algonquin Park. Yeah, Algonquin owned park. Okay, I have a motion moved by Tom and seconded by Sherry that bylaw number 2020-64 being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy again, and to provide for the payment of taxes and to provide for penalty and interest of 1.25% per month, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 22nd day of December 2020. Discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay. Let's see. Moved by Victor and seconded by Nikki, whereas resolution 442, wait, sorry, I skipped over some stuff here. Any notice of motions? Or giving of notices of motions?
None.
Okay, new or other business? That's this motion. So moved by Victor and seconded by Nikki, whereas resolution 442-2020 was considered by council at its meeting on December the 8th, and the motion to open halls as of January 1, 2021 was defeated by recorded vote. And whereas council intended as a result of that motion that it agree to option 2 presented in that motion, which indicated that staff would wait to open halls until the health restrictions relax and we go back to green level. And whereas the second option was not voted on to formally accept the motion. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council directs staff that we wait until the health restriction relax and we go back to green level to open halls, that outdoor skating rinks can open when they're ready with an approved safety plan in place, but warming shacks at the rinks will remain closed. Discussion. Now that we're in lockdown, Andy was asking the question in our control group this morning about what it means for outdoor rinks. And from what I can see, it's very limited to the number of people that can be using outdoor rinks.
That's correct.
So how we're going to make sure that happens, I don't know. I think it's too warm to have an outdoor rink right now anyway. The ice is mushy. It'll protect itself, I think. Okay, any discussion on this motion? All those in favor? Let me see your hands, folks. Motion's carried. Okay, moved by Bill and seconded by Sherry, that council receive for information the email from Roma regarding registration and conference details. Are people signing up?
That's what I'd like to know, Madam Mayor, so we can register because it is all virtual.
I went to AMO as a virtual meeting and it was interesting. It is a lot of sitting or standing at the computer, but it was quite interesting. You still got the information just over the computer instead of in person. Certainly missed the people part of it, but.
Mhm. And I mean, the deadline it says is December 31st for early, but even if you decide in January that somebody wishes to go, I think we're still okay because I think it's only a difference of $50.
I'm going with the county, so I can write down some things that I think might be of interest to us. Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Now, there's no notice of motion and no giving of notice.
No, we're on number 16 now, Madam Mayor, which would be the closed session.
Closed session. Okay. Do we have any visitors on our call, Cindy? Or yeah, Cindy?
Yeah, yes, we do. And I sent out a separate invite for closed session that was only sent to the councilors. So I think we should do
Okay.
what we normally do and close out of this meeting and reconvene with the second invite.
All right. So I have a motion moved by Cindy and seconded by Elwin that council move into closed session to discuss matters about a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on behalf of the municipality or local board pursuant to section 239(2)K fire services, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees pursuant to section 239(2)B. All those in favor? Motion's carried. So we go back to our closed motion that Cindy sent out earlier, right?
Yes, and I will end this meeting now and start the next meeting so people can log in.
It
Okay.
may take me a minute or two to get back in, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we'll be patient.